Did you know that your house is full of useless things that only take up space, gather dust, and secretly drain your time and energy? And the worst part is that you've gotten so used to having them there that you don't even realize it. Today I'm going to tell you about 11 absurd objects you no longer need to keep at home, and that you're probably still holding on to just in case. Yes, that famous just in case that's been piling up emotional and physical junk in your home for years. I'm warning you now, this video might hurt a little, because we've all had that aunt, that mom, or even been that person ourselves, keeping drawers full of broken things, outdated decorations, cables from devices that don't even exist anymore, and souvenirs that only serve to take up space. And yes, I'm going to bring up that subject too. So get ready. Let's start with that mysterious drawer. Yes, the one we all have in some corner of the kitchen, in the dining room, or in that piece of furniture you shouldn't even have anymore. That drawer you open quickly and close even faster because you don't want to see the chaos inside. And when you do open it, you always find the same things: old batteries you're not even sure still work, loose screws, a couple of rusty keys you have no idea what door they open, and of course, the famous manual for the microwave you bought in 2006, which you not only never read, but that microwave doesn't even exist anymore. Do you know what's the most absurd part? That we keep all that stuff because we think we might need it at some point. Need what? A receipt for a blender you threw out 8 years ago? An AA battery that's probably corroded from being there so long? Or those old hair ties that don't even stretch anymore? We hold on to useless things because we're too lazy to face that drawer. Because deep down, it's like a little box of pending things, broken things, things you don't want to deal with right now. And the more you postpone it, the more it piles up. That drawer doesn't just take up physical space. It also takes up mental space. Every time you open it and see that mess, your brain registers another task you've left unfinished. And even if you don't realize it, that adds tiny unnecessary burdens to your daily life. Have you noticed that in homes where there's less clutter, it feels different? It's because every space has a purpose and isn't polluted with meaningless objects. The worst part is that you don't even know what's at the bottom of that drawer. There could be an old landline phone cable, a stack of instruction manuals for appliances that are already broken, supermarket stickers, promotional keychains, and probably even a remote control with no battery cover for something that never worked. What for? And don't get me started on the paper clips, thumbtacks, loose buttons, labels, scraps of paper with phone numbers that don't exist anymore. It's a graveyard of insignificant objects you pile up there just because you don't want to throw them away in the moment. The famous, "I'll organize it later," that never comes. And you know what's even worse? That inside that mysterious drawer there are probably useful things, but you lose them in all the trash. When you urgently need a battery or a screwdriver, you can't find it because it's buried under 3 broken chargers and a fairground keychain. Today I want you to open it. Yes, now. Look at it. Grab a bag and start taking out everything you don't use, everything that's broken, everything you don't even know where it came from. Keep only what's truly useful and makes sense to have there. You'll be amazed at how much space you can clear out and, more importantly, how good it feels to close that drawer and know it's finally organized. Because it's not just a drawer. It's a sign of how we postpone small things thinking they don't matter, but together they create noise in our lives. Start there. It's simple, quick, and it will change your day. Let's move on to old vases. This is one of those objects hardly anyone mentions, but we all have them lying around somewhere. Think about it. How many do you have stored under the sink, on top of a shelf, or stuffed in a box in the closet? And the saddest part, you don't even remember the last time you used them. Because sure, maybe at some point you thought they were pretty. Maybe someone gave them to you or you bought them because they were on sale. But today, there they are. Without flowers, covered in dust, with that little moisture stain nobody cleans and you purposely ignore every time you see it. 1 is fine, 2 if you like to switch it up. But that translucent plastic vase, in some weird color, strange shape, or with faded stiff fabric flowers. Seriously? Why do you still have it? It no longer matches anything, adds nothing, and you don't even bother dusting it. It's there simply because you haven't taken 5 minutes to decide it shouldn't be anymore. And what's curious is that we always find an excuse not to throw it away. But my neighbor gave it to me. It might be useful for another occasion. Another occasion when? How many years has it been waiting for that so-called occasion? If you haven't used it in the last 2 years, you're never going to use it. Let's be honest. And what about those glass vases that are already cloudy, with wax residue because you once put a candle in them, or with chipped edges? They're dangerous, ugly, and take up space. And yet, they're still in your home. It's like we think vases can't be thrown away, that it brings bad luck. But no, the only bad luck is living surrounded by things you don't like and that remind you won't make up your mind to do a good cleaning. And let's go even further. Many houses still have those fabric flowers that were all the rage in the 90s but now look like tiny nests of dust. Touch them. They're stiff, sticky, dirty. The color they once had is long gone. If you look closely, there are even fine cobwebs in the leaves. And you know what's the worst part? No one even notices them anymore. They've been so decorative, so forgotten, they've become part of the house's dead scenery. I bet that when you have guests over, you don't even notice that ugly vase sitting on the shelf, but your subconscious does. Because even if you think it doesn't matter, seeing ugly, dirty, or broken things drains your home's energy. It fills it with meaningless objects, with stuck things. And believe me, when you finally decide to get rid of those kinds of things, the house feels different. It breathes better. It looks cleaner even if you haven't wiped it down. Also, let's be practical. These days you can have a nice, simple, and inexpensive vase that actually matches your decor. One pretty one and a backup if you like. But you don't need 5, 10, or that collection of things you inherited from your grandmother, your neighbor, or your old house. Keep only what you'd actually use, what you truly like. And the rest, no guilt, let it go. Today's a good day to get rid of those old vases, those sad fake flowers, those decorations no one wants. If you don't do it now, you'll keep putting it off for another year. And in a year, you'll say again, I should throw this away. So better to do it now. Go find that hideous vase and say goodbye to it. Do your home and yourself that favor. Third, scratched CDs and DVDs. This is another silent classic nobody wants to admit they're holding on to. But I know that somewhere in your house, probably in a shoebox, in a forgotten drawer, or stacked on a high shelf, you have that collection of old discs you haven't touched in years. And I bet that if I asked you right now to find a player to use them, you wouldn't even know where it is. Because no one uses that anymore. And yet, there they are. What's curious is how we fool ourselves. We keep those scratched CDs because they have some sentimental value. This was from my graduation. My cousin burned me this with summer 2004 music. That DVD had photos from a trip. But you know what? If you haven't put them in a player tray in the last 5 years, you're never going to watch them again. And the worst part is you don't even know if they still work. Because just by looking at them, you can see the scratches, the fingerprint smudges, the dust stuck to them. And even if you wanted to save them, they're probably useless by now. We cling to them because they're small physical reminders of moments that have already passed. We believe that if we throw away that CD, somehow we'll forget the memory it carries. But it's not like that. The memory is in your head, in your heart, and if you want, in a photo on your phone or saved in the cloud. You don't need a dusty disc to hold on to it. Also, let's be practical. Most of the movies, songs, and photos you stored on those discs are now on the internet, on streaming platforms, in your Google Photos, your Spotify, or your hard drive. And if they're not, what's stopping you from taking an hour to check which ones are truly worth saving, digitizing them, and getting rid of the rest? And don't tell me it's because of the cover art. Because we also keep those broken, faded plastic cases with crumpled paper inserts you can't even read anymore. Do you really want to keep a shelf full of discs you don't even have a way to play? It's like having a cabinet full of VHS tapes without a VCR. That time's gone, it doesn't make sense anymore. Besides, those discs take up space. And not just physical space. When you accumulate obsolete things, your home fills with stagnant energy, with objects that serve no purpose. All of that weighs you down. All of that robs you of clarity. And you don't even realize it. Do you know what you should do? Take that box or that drawer where you keep them. Pull them all out. Out of those 50 discs, I bet only 3 or 4 are actually worth digitizing or keeping. The rest scratched, missing covers, half burned, or filled with irrelevant content, get them out of your life. Do it for yourself. Do it for your home. For having fewer useless things weighing you down, even if you don't see them every day. Because everything you keep belongs to you in some way, and it keeps you connected to a past you no longer need. And if it's about the memories, let me tell you straight, a memory that only survives because you have a scratched CD hidden somewhere isn't an important memory. The memories that are truly worth it are alive in your mind, in your conversations, in the photos you actually look at, in the videos you actually share. So don't put it off. Do it today. Open that drawer. Throw away the broken, scratched, coverless, pointless discs. Take a photo of the covers you want to remember and keep only the minimum. Your home and your head will feel infinitely lighter. And you'll see how that free space gives you clarity. Fourth, appliances that no longer work or that you used once and never again. This is one of the worst silent problems that accumulate in homes. And I guarantee that if you take a walk through your kitchen, you'll find at least 3. The ice cream maker you bought once because you saw a recipe online, made homemade ice cream one summer afternoon. It didn't turn out as well as you hoped, and since then it's been sitting in its box or under a shelf, taking up space, gathering dust and moisture. Or that yogurt maker you got for Christmas, which seemed like a fantastic idea at the time because you thought, now I'm going to start making natural yogurt every weekend, much healthier, no sugar. You used it once. You forgot that you had to clean every little jar, that sometimes it curdles, that it takes time, and since then it's been sleeping the eternal sleep in the most inconvenient corner of your kitchen. And let's not even mention the sandwich maker with the worn-out Teflon. The one where every time you use it, everything sticks. It leaves you with more work than if you just toasted the bread in a pan, and yet it's still there because you feel bad throwing it away. Or because you think that one day, when you have time, you'll buy another just like it, and maybe it'll be useful to keep this one as a backup. Lie. It won't happen. We're experts at keeping dead or useless appliances. And we don't just keep them, we take care of them. We roll up their cords, arrange them on shelves, even wipe them down on the outside as if one day they'll come back to life. But the reality is that if you have an appliance that hasn't been used in 6 months, you don't need it. Because if it mattered to you, you'd have used it more than once. And the worst part is that all those devices take up the best space. They're not tucked away in a storage shed, no, they're in the prime spots. On the high shelves in the kitchen, in the big cabinets, in boxes taking up half the closet meant for useful things. Right there, taking up space from the things you actually use every day. Why do you still have a rice cooker from 10 years ago that no longer heats evenly? Or that hand mixer that makes a horrible noise and stopped working properly? Or the blender with a broken jar that you keep thinking you'll replace someday? All of that should leave your house today. Also, every time you keep something that doesn't work, you're telling your brain, this has value, this deserves space. And what happens is your house fills up with purposeless objects. Because what doesn't work or isn't used simply gets in the way. And I know it's easy to fool yourself. But it was expensive, it was a gift, I might need it someday. No, you won't need it. If you haven't needed it all this time, you're not going to need it from now on. And in case you do need it on some remote occasion, I guarantee you'd rather buy a new one or borrow it than dig through boxes full of obsolete things. Also, a kitchen packed with stacked appliances is uncomfortable, overwhelming, and discouraging. How could you not lose motivation to cook if every time you look for something you have to move that unused waffle maker, the old toaster, and the electric pot that doesn't even turn on anymore? A kitchen should be a light, practical, functional space filled only with what you truly use. I'll suggest something. Today, when you finish this video, give yourself 10 minutes. Just 10. Open your kitchen cabinets, check the cupboards, look at the high shelves. Touch everything that's in there. And for each appliance you find, ask yourself, when was the last time I used this? If you have to think about it for more than 3 seconds, you already know the answer. Take it out. Put it in a box to donate, sell, or throw away. But get it out. You have no idea the relief you feel when you reclaim that space. When you open that cabinet and only see the things you actually use. It's like taking off an invisible backpack. Start there with those useless appliances. Because I promise your house will feel lighter. And you will too. Fifth, broken or ugly Christmas decorations. This topic deserves that we pause for a moment, Because I know for many this is one of the hardest points. Because Christmas decorations, more than decorations, are memories. They're the first ornament we bought when we just moved in, the little angel my son made at school, the ornament my mom brought back from that trip. And yes, some things are worth keeping. But the truth is, most of that box you have stored away is a mix of ugly, broken, faded, and outdated decorations that every December you pull out by habit, not because you like them. Think about it. Haven't you ever opened that box of Christmas ornaments, started pulling out the baubles, the little bows, the felt ornaments, and found one with the glitter falling off, another with a broken string, another with a burned corner from being too close to a candle years ago? And instead of throwing them away, you pack them up again. As if it were a serious offense to get rid of something that says Merry Christmas, even if it's a complete disaster. And the curious thing is those decorations don't even make you happy anymore. You look at them and think, well, I'll just hang it in the back where no one can see it. No. If you have to hide an ornament because you're embarrassed by how it looks, it makes no sense to keep it in your house. Christmas should be a time of joy, of beautiful things, of decorations that truly make you smile when you hang them. Not about filling the tree with broken things just because you feel bad throwing them away. Also, how many ornaments do you have that don't even match anymore? In the same box you have baubles from the 90s, bows that used to be gold and now are a sad coppery color, wooden figurines with the paint peeling off, and cheap plastic supermarket ornaments that you can tell from a mile away are on their last legs. And yet there they stay, year after year. Because after all, it's only once a year. But that just once repeats over and over, and all you end up with is a mediocre, soulless decoration filled with things you don't even want anymore. And don't even get me started on Christmas lights. There's always a string of lights you keep all tangled up in a knot, and every year you test them and they don't fully light up. And instead of throwing them away, you think, well, maybe I can still use them. And you hang them halfway hidden, in a corner of the patio, on a window frame nobody looks at, just to justify that you didn't have the nerve to toss them. Let me tell you something that might hurt. A broken ornament doesn't hold better memories than a nice one. And holding on to ugly things doesn't honor the people who gave them to you any better. The memories are in you, not in a crushed bough or a dull bauble. This December, when you open that box, really look at it. Take each ornament in your hand. If it's intact, clean, and you still like it, it stays. If it's broken, ugly, faded, incomplete, or simply doesn't make you happy to see it, it goes. No guilt. No excuses. In fact, I'll suggest something better. Why not turn it into a little ritual? Put on Christmas music, light some incense or a candle, and go through the box calmly. Clean and neatly store the ones you decide to keep so everything looks nice. And for the ones you don't, thank them for being with you all these years and either throw them away or donate them if they might still be useful to someone else. Your home will feel lighter, your Christmas decor will look better, and you'll finally shed that habit of keeping things just because you always have. Because Christmas shouldn't be an excuse to surround yourself with sad decorations. It should be an opportunity to renew, to hold on to what you love, what makes you happy. Everything else, out. Do yourself that favor this December. Your home will thank you. And so will you. Sixth, cables. Yes, cables. This is a true domestic plague, silent and persistent. Because no one, absolutely no one, escapes the accumulation of old cables. Those tangled cables you keep in a box, in a bag, in a drawer, in the pantry, in a corner of the closet, or behind some piece of furniture just in case. And the funny thing is that just in case has been there for years and never came. Think back. You have charger cables for cell phones that no longer exist, for those phones with little buttons. USB cables of old versions, the ones that no longer fit anything you have today. Power adapters for devices you don't even remember what they were. Chargers for old cameras, for tablets that never turned on again, for MP3 players lost ages ago. All of that is still there, taking up space, tangled, dirty, creating a visual and mental clutter you can't even imagine. And the worst part isn't just that you keep them, but that you take care of them. You roll them up, put them in a special box, even when they get tangled with others. Instead of throwing them away, you separate them. Why? What's the point of having 20 old cell phone cables when the plug isn't even compatible anymore? It's absurd, but we keep doing it. And then there are defective extension cords. That power strip that sparks a little when you plug something in, but you say it still works. Or that extension cord that only works if you leave it in an exact position, and if it moves half a centimeter, the power cuts out. All of that not only takes up space, it's dangerous. And yet, it's still there. Do you know what's the most ironic? That when you really need a specific cable, you can't find it. Because they're all mixed up, tangled, some cut, others defective. You search for half an hour and end up buying a new one. So, why do you keep the old ones? And the funny thing is that, just like with other things, we always use the same excuses. Better keep it, you never know, in case I need it someday, in case someone comes asking for one. Do you know how many times that has actually happened? Almost never. What does happen is that cables accumulate, rust, get dirty, and when you want to organize, you end up with a hellish tangle of unidentified cables. And another detail, have you noticed that sometimes you don't even know what some are for? Literally, you hold it in your hand and think, what was this for again? And yet you don't throw it away. You put it back in the box because better safe than sorry. But let me tell you, if you don't even know what it is, it's because you don't need it. Because if it were important, you'd know exactly what device it belongs to. So I propose a real cleanup. Today, not tomorrow. Take that box, that bag, that drawer full of cables. Pull them all out. Make piles. Keep 1 or 2 universal chargers you do use. 1 or 2 extension cords that work well. And the rest everything you don't recognize, everything broken, everything no longer useful for the devices you have at home straight to the trash. You don't have to feel guilty. You won't need those cables. You won't miss them. And if one day the remote possibility arises that you actually need one of those, I promise you'll prefer buying a new one than spending half an afternoon untangling that mess. Also, freeing up that space is an incredible relief. It feels like solving a problem you've been postponing for years. That empty drawer or that neat box will give you a brutal feeling of order and control. Because, believe it or not, those little things affect you. When your house is full of useless cables, of loose things without purpose, you feel it. Deep down, it weighs on you. So today, no excuses, give yourself that time. Take out all the old cables, identify the ones that work, keep only the essentials, and the rest. Goodbye. You'll see how the air feels better. Because fewer old cables means fewer tangles in your life. Literally and symbolically. 7th, plastic containers without lids, or lids without their containers. This is, without exaggeration, one of the most universal and absurd domestic mysteries that exist. Because all of us, absolutely all of us, have that drawer, that bag, or that shelf with a bunch of loose plastic containers, missing their matching lids. And a bunch of loose lids, of different sizes, colors and brands, that don't fit anything anymore. And the most ridiculous thing is that we keep them. As if one day, by magic, the missing container would appear. Or as if the loose lids would make sense at some point in our lives. But no, it won't happen. I tell you with complete certainty, no one in the history of humanity has managed to gather all their plastic containers with their original lids after a couple of years of use. It's like the mystery of missing socks in the laundry, an unwritten household law. And the worst part isn't just having them there, it's that when you look for one that actually works, it's a huge hassle to find it. It always happens the same way. You have a bunch of containers, but none with a lid. Or you have a bunch of lids, but none fits the container you want to use. You lose minutes searching, trying, pressing lids that don't close properly, and end up using plastic wrap because you're tired of looking. Why keep accumulating that? Also, those old containers deform, get stained, some bend, others have scratches, knife marks, sauce stains that never came out. And yet, we keep storing them. Because we think to store dog food, to put nails in, for when someone asks me for something to take away. And what ends up happening is that you don't even use them for that. They just take up space, make a mess, and give a sense of chaos every time you open that cabinet. And don't even get me started on the loose lids. What's the point of keeping a lid without its container? None. None at all. But there they are. As if one day they'll serve to cover a plate, to close a cup, who knows what. And no, it doesn't happen. The only thing they do is take up space, make it harder for you to find the lids that do work, and make each time you want to organize heavier and more frustrating. And here's a truth we all know but nobody wants to say out loud: no household needs 30 plastic containers. Having 6 or 7 in good condition, with their matching lids, is more than enough for any normal family. Because in the end, you always use the same ones. The ones easiest to reach, the clean and complete ones. The rest get relegated to the back of the drawer or cupboard, collecting dust and grease. So do yourself a favor today. Open that cabinet or drawer, take everything out, absolutely everything. Match containers with their lids. Those that don't fit, go. Those that are stained, bent, broken, or have lids that don't close properly, go. Keep only the ones you really use and that work well. It's incredible how the kitchen changes when that drawer is organized and only useful things remain. And I know it's hard, because you feel like it still works, or it might be good for storing something. But no. If it's been there for a year and you haven't used it, you're not going to use it. And if you really need an extra one someday, I guarantee you won't want to use that stained, misshapen, or lidless container. You'll look for a good, clean, complete one. Also, freeing up that space is an instant relief. You'll be surprised how good it feels to see that drawer organized, with containers and lids that actually fit, without that pile of useless plastic. It gives you peace of mind. And it saves you minutes every time you look for a container. Because you don't have to rummage, get frustrated, or resign yourself to using something in bad condition. So don't hesitate any longer. Today, do that cleaning. Because no one needs containers without lids or lids without containers. And even if you don't believe it, that little mess is a silent burden in your home. And it's time to get rid of it. 8th, old magazines and catalogs. This topic is more serious than it seems, because it sneaks into our homes silently and constantly, and without realizing it, we accumulate piles and piles of printed paper that are no longer useful. And the most absurd thing of all is that, even though we know we're not going to look at them again, they remain there, taking up space, collecting dust, and generating a visual and mental pollution we don't consciously perceive. I invite you to think about that stack of magazines you have stored. Maybe in a box, maybe piled beside your bed, in a corner of the living room, in the bathroom, or inside a drawer you don't even open anymore. Decoration magazines from 5 years ago. Fashion magazines with trends that today are just embarrassing. Gossip magazines from when some celebrity divorced in 2017. Why? Do you really think you'll someday sit down to leaf through those yellowed pages with bent corners, which you're not even interested in anymore? And catalogs? Oh, the catalogs. That's unbelievable. Grocery store catalogs from 2018, promotions that ended ages ago. Appliance store catalogs with 32-inch TVs at luxury prices that today aren't even worth half. Hardware, furniture, out-of-season clothing catalogs, things you never bought at the time and don't even want now. And yet, they stay there. Because when you got them you said, "I'll save it to look at later," and that later never came. The most incredible thing is that nowadays, all of that is online. If you want to see offers, you do it from your phone. If you want decorating ideas, you open Pinterest or Instagram. If you want to read about fashion, you go to any website. So, what's the point of keeping old, outdated papers that don't even look good? And they don't just take up physical space. They take up mental space. Because every time you see that pile of old magazines, even if you don't notice, there's a little voice in your head that says, "I should organize this, recycle it, throw it away." And that little voice burdens you, annoys you, drains your energy. Also, accumulating old papers gives an impression of disorder, neglect. How many times have you had to hide those piles of papers at the last minute when guests come? How many times have you told yourself, "I'll organize this weekend," and you don't? All of that becomes an invisible backpack you carry day after day. And don't even get me started on how unhygienic it is. Because old papers attract dust, moisture, bugs that crawl between the pages. That pile you have in the corner may seem harmless, but it hides dirt you can't imagine. And there it stays year after year. So today, no excuses, I propose a cleanup. Take all those old magazines and catalogs, make a pile. Quickly go through them. If there's a page or article you really like, that's truly worth keeping, cut it out and store it in a neat, thin folder. The rest, straight to recycling. No guilt, no drama, no "I'll look at it later." Because you won't look at it later. You'll see how that small gesture changes the energy of your home. A space free of old papers feels lighter, cleaner, more current. And it gives you a sense of control and order. Because even if it seems silly, getting rid of what no longer serves you is a way of telling your home and yourself, "I'm up to date, I'm present, I'm not carrying useless things from the past." So today, do it. That pile of old magazines and forgotten catalogs adds nothing. They just take up space and steal your peace. It's time for them to go. Your home and your mind will thank you. 9th, those old clothes you keep for around the house. This is a topic that affects many of us, because we all have that pile of clothes we no longer wear outside, but might still be good for being comfortable at home. And yes, it's okay to have 2 or 3 worn-out comfortable t-shirts, pants, or shorts for those days when you don't want to complicate things. But the problem is when that pile turns into a parallel, messy wardrobe full of clothes you don't really wear, don't even like, that are torn, stained, or simply out of fashion. Think about that shirt that already has holes in the seams, or that blouse that was once white but now looks more gray from washing. Or those pajama pants that haven't looked good for years, with stains that won't come out or loose threads unraveling. Why do you keep them? Why hold on to something that doesn't even make you feel good when you wear it? Also, old, accumulated, and messy clothes take up valuable space in your closet or drawers. Space you could use for clothes you do wear, like, and that make you feel good about yourself. Having too many old clothes just in case creates chaos, makes it hard to find what you really need, and gives you a constant feeling of disorder. And I know many of us think, this is just clothes for being at home, I don't need it to look nice. But I ask you, why not? Why don't you deserve to feel good in your personal space too? Comfort isn't at odds with looking and feeling good. And torn or ugly clothes, even if just for home use, can make you feel less cheerful, less cared for, and even affect your mood. Also, that old clothing collects dust, odors, and can become a breeding ground for bacteria and mites if you don't use it often or wash it properly. Not to mention how uncomfortable it is to wear something damaged or stained. Here's a tip that has worked for me: if you wouldn't wear that piece of clothing to go out and buy bread, you shouldn't keep it at home either. That's the ultimate test. If a piece doesn't make you feel good even for something as simple as stepping outside briefly, is it really worth keeping just for being at home? So today, when you go through your clothes, do it honestly. Take out all the clothes you use at home and try each one on if necessary. If it's torn, stained, misshapen, or simply no longer appeals to you, say goodbye to it. Donate the ones in good condition but no longer used, and throw away what's unusable. You'll see how having just a few comfortable, clean, and pleasant pieces for home makes you feel better, more organized, freer. And your wardrobe, which is not just a physical space but a reflection of your mind, will feel lighter. Remember, your home is your refuge. And you deserve to have clothes that make you feel comfortable, fresh, and good about yourself, not just old rags you kept out of habit or guilt. This is a simple change but with a huge impact on your daily life. So let's get to work. 10th, old and half-used candles. This is a classic in almost every home because candles have that special charm. They create ambience, add warmth, and yes, many even have delightful scents that transport or relax us. But let's be honest, how many candles do you have stored that are already half-used, or worse, don't even light properly? Those candles you keep just in case, but that really only take up space and collect dust. Look at those candles forgotten in a corner, some with wax all melted and messy, others with bent wicks, or those that have completely lost their original fragrance. You try to light them and they don't even catch or go out quickly. And yet, there they are, taking up room, in boxes, on shelves, or in jars that no longer match the decor. Many times we think that by keeping candles, we're ready for any special occasion or when we want a moment of relaxation. But the truth is, those old candles don't fulfill their function. They don't smell good, don't light well, don't create the atmosphere you want. And worst of all, those half-used candles silently remind you of something pending. I should use or throw out those candles, but laziness wins and you just leave them there. Also, accumulating old candles can be risky. Wax can collect dust, insects, or dirt, and poorly stored candles can even be a danger if you accidentally light them after being stored for a long time. It's not just an aesthetic problem, it's a safety issue. Ideally, you should only have a couple of candles you really use, that are in good condition, smell nice, and make you feel good when you light them. Having too many just causes clutter, takes unnecessary space, and frustrates you when you need a candle because you have to sift through a bunch of useless ones. So my advice is, check those old candles. Try lighting them if you want, smell if they still have scent. Keep only 2 or 3 that you truly use and enjoy. The rest, without guilt, go. You can gift new candles you never used or simply dispose of the ones in bad condition. Freeing that space, even if it seems small, will give you a sense of order and cleanliness in your home. And when you light a good candle without worries, you'll enjoy that moment much more. Don't let those old candles be another burden in your house. It's time to refresh and keep only what really brings you value. Because less is more, also in decoration and in the little details that make your home special. And 11th, meaningless souvenirs and keepsakes. This is one of the biggest ghosts filling our homes without us often realizing it. Because we all have those objects that came as gifts, memories, or souvenirs from a trip, a visit, an event. And that over time, turned into simple accumulated stuff that adds nothing to our daily lives. Think of that little cup your neighbor brought you from her trip to Machu Picchu in 2003. You have it on a shelf, maybe covered in dust, because you don't know where to put it or simply don't like it but don't want it to show that you don't care. Or that decorative figurine, one of those you bought on a trip years ago that never really convinced you, but it's still there just in case. Why keep that? The problem with these souvenirs is that often they don't have a clear place or real purpose. They're functionless objects you don't use, don't look at fondly, and don't feel add anything to your space. They're just there because you feel throwing them away is like throwing away a memory, or worse, disrespecting whoever gave them to you. But I ask you, does that little cup really make you happy? Does it bring joy to see it every day, or is it just a visual nuisance? Does the figurine inspire something good or just take up space and dust? If the answer is no, or that it has no practical or real decorative function, then that piece is stagnating your home and your energy. Keeping things just out of guilt or obligation neither honors the memory nor the person who gave them to you. On the contrary, it fills your space with objects that only weigh you down and overwhelm you. Important memories are not stored in things you don't want. They live in your memory, in the photos you truly enjoy looking at, in the stories you tell with affection. Besides, holding on to those meaningless souvenirs can prevent your home from having its own harmonious style. When we accumulate objects just because they were once important, we end up with cluttered, confusing spaces without personality. And that affects how you feel in your home. That's why I invite you to do an honest exercise. Take out all those souvenirs and keepsakes you've stored without a clear purpose. Take them one by one, really look at them, and ask yourself, does this make me happy? Does this add anything to my home or my life? If the answer is no, say goodbye without guilt. You can choose to keep a couple of pieces that truly mean something to you and brighten your day when you see them. The rest, if they're in good condition, you can donate or give to someone who will appreciate them. If not, just let them go. Freeing yourself from these meaningless souvenirs frees physical and mental space. It opens your home and your life to what really matters, what fills you up, what makes you feel good. Because a home full of objects with purpose and love is a home that radiates peace, order, and happiness. So don't hesitate. Today, do that deep clean. Give your home the space it deserves. And say goodbye to those memories that don't serve you. Your homeman, especially, you will be so grateful. I told you. This video hurts. Because we all keep things we no longer need, but we feel guilty about letting them go. The truth is your home deserves to be full of things you use, like, and that make your life easier. Everything else is dead weight. Now tell me in the comments, what absurd object do you have in your house that you hadn't realized before? Let's all confess together.